Poppy Designs podcast, episode 29. It has been a minute, but I am back. I'm your host, Paula, a knitwear designer, mama bear to two very busy kids, and a part-time bookkeeper now, living in the Grey Highlands of Ontario. So thank you so much for tuning in. Welcome back if you're a returning viewer. Apologize for the lengthy break, and welcome if you're brand new here. Thank you so much for checking out the podcast. So I was looking it up, and it turns out that my last recorded podcast was all the way back in March. Gosh, life has been crazy hectic, and then we moved. So if you don't know, or if you're new and you haven't been following along, not that I've been very good about posting it, but up until August, or I guess September 20th is when we officially moved out. We were living in Cambridge, Ontario. The family and I decided to make the great big change and relocate about an hour and a half north. We've moved closer to some family we haven't seen very often, and we've embraced the slow life, and it's been magical. I now work 9 to 3, Monday to Thursday, and I'm home on Fridays, so I get to spend more time with you all. I have so many projects on the needles. I'm lying. I had so many projects on the needles, and then I added more. That's what I meant. But first, let's start with my most progressed project, I guess. I cast this one on when we were living in our rental, because we had to rent for about a month before we took full possession of our house, which is where I am now, coming to you from my very own studio within the house. It is amazing to finally have my own proper space. So, like I said, back in the back in my rental, we were living very minimalist. Yes, very minimalist. Blah blah blah. Minimalistically, I guess is the word. We had bare necessities with us, things we couldn't survive without, and naturally it was my knitting for me. So I cast on this beauty. This is, oops, sorry, microphone, getting used to it, brand new here with the microphone. It had been requested by lots to get one, so I did. Okay. This is the Easy V pullover by Caitlin Hunter. I don't know how well you can see that. Hopefully you can see most of it. So it's a top-down knit, as you can see. It's got a circular yoke and this beautiful V-shaped neckline that, oh my gosh, it was so much ribbing. Even though it's worsted weight yarn, it still went on forever. And then the color work went on forever, but I adore it. This calls for 3 colors in the yoke of the marled yarn. Marled? Is that it? Or is it hand spun or spun, I guess, from Spin Cycle yarns. So that's what she used in the sample, but I did not. I only wanted to use 2, and it still looks like I used more than 2 because of the gradient that this the yarn in the back offers. This yarn is Cascade 220. The main color is Japanese Maple Heather. The blue is Pacific Heather, and the colorful one behind it is Cascade 220 Superwash Wave in the colorway Berries. And I love it so much. Especially the red part here, it really matches well with the maple color here. And I love the maple because it's like a browny, reddish kind of color, a bit of orange, and it just makes me so happy. Anyway, I think it'll look really good on, and I can't wait to finish it. So I am knitting this on my Chiao Goose. I am using US 6 4mm, and I'm pretty sure that's what it's called for in the pattern. So I got the little red cable, and these ones are my fixed circulars. I've had these for quite some time before I bought my interchangeable set. Yes. Let's see, what else is there to say about it before I put it away. I have about 2 inches left on the body before I can start the ribbing according to pattern, but I think I'm gonna put this guy on I have one of those cable thingies to see if it'll oh my gosh, what are those things called? It's like a stitch holder thing, but it's the cable, not needle, it's just a cable that you slip all the stitches on, and it's like extremely long, and then you can comfortably try it on. But I don't know if I gave myself enough length here to put my sleeves in. I did not. So I might not be able to try it on, but I am thinking that it might be long enough and I'm ready to start the bottom ribbing. I don't have a very long torso, so might not need it. Might not need all that length. Plus I don't like it when sweaters hang down past my bum or anything like that, or I have to tuck them. I'd rather they just sit at my waistline and we call it a day. So yeah. And then the sleeves, the sleeves have a bit of this color work too, so I have some yarn put away for that. And yeah, I think that's about it. I am knitting size 44-inch chest, which is giving me about 5 inches of ease. I am about 39 around, so yeah, it's going super quick. And at the same time not, because of all the color work. But now that that's all done, this is great TV knitting. It's great knitting for when I'm reading a book, that I'll be sharing with you all of my books that I'm reading behind me here. Yeah. Anyway, that's that one. Moving on, I also cast on the Stria cardigan by Andrea Mowry because, well, why not? I had the yarn for it. Actually, I had the yarn for the, I can't remember the name of it now. It's also an Andrea Mowry pattern. It came out a while ago. It has the like weird neckline, and it's the color work, and it's like the very 70s kind of top, and yes, that one. So I bought the yarn for that sweater, and then instead of knitting that sweater, I went ahead and cast on Hello from My Colors crop from Jessie Made Designs. And then instead of knitting that, I ripped it all out and cast on for this guy because I wanted a cardigan. I have not knit myself a cardigan yet. I've knit only sweaters and like pullovers and things like that. So this is the Stria. This is what I've got so far. I haven't made much progress on it because with the increases, and it is a fisherman's rib pattern, so you kind of have to follow along the chart and pay attention to the increases, or else it gets very messed up. So I kind of took a break from that for a bit. I am using 4 colors for the body striping. So this one is called Rose Hip. Yes, this one's Rose Hip. This is Seafaring, Turmeric, and Lantana. Lantana? Yes, Lantana. And I am knitting this on size 2 needles because this is a fingering weight sweater. The Easy V is a worsted weight. It's a fingering weight sweater. I'm using Knit Picks palette, and the main color is Mist. So obviously this yarn comes from Knit Picks, whereas the other yarn I got from my old local yarn shop. And I say old as in we don't live in the same town, in that town anymore, so it's not a local yarn shop anymore, but it's the Galt House of Yarn in Cambridge. They carry all my favorite yarns like Cascade 220, Barocco Vintage. They carry Sans Garn. And yes, lots of other very nice brands. So, what else? I am knitting the size 3. The recommended ease for this pattern is between -2 and 4 inches. Yeah, -2 inches and 4 inches. So I'm knitting the 39.75 inch size because I wanted it to be fitted so I could wear it on its own or with just like a light tank top underneath. I find it hard. I don't have a very big wardrobe, so trying to find things that would match these colors is a little tricky. Mainly because I knit colors I don't usually wear. Yes. I like to step out of my comfort zone when I'm knitting and pick colors that like draw people in, mainly because, well, you put in all that effort. Don't you want them to pay attention and take a look and be like, oh, that's really cute. Did you knit that? Yes, I did. So yeah, that's my Stria. So like I said, US 2 needles. And you know what? Despite knitting them on such small needles, it is going really fast. Even for fisherman's rib, which, I mean, if you know fisherman's rib, you purl 1 round and then you knit below on the 2nd round. So it feels like 2 rows is actually 1 row. It is frustrating, but it's fine. So this is the Knit Fix palette in the color Mist. Yeah, I think that's all there is to say about that. Moving on. Oh, I should show you the tote. I'm holding this in because there's actually like so many balls of yarn in here, but I am holding it all in this beautiful bag that is now showing a lot of dirt and wear. I'll have to wash it. This is Slow Fashion. Look at the beautiful turtle. This is from Pine and Pearl. Andrea is the maker behind this beautiful brand. She lives in Barrie, which is actually now a lot closer to me than it used to be, so I might have to go down and visit. But yeah, it's her biggest tote bag, and she prints this the beautiful designs on it. She's got so many great designs. I'll link her down below so you can definitely check her out. Yes, sorry, I've got my show notes here, and I got my tea, so I'm going to take a quick sip because it should be drinking time now. Perfect, it's not burn your face off hot. All right, just a few more sweaters to show you. So next up is my Daydreamer. This project has been on my wish list since it came out. It is such a beautiful sweater. And here it is. I haven't made a ton of progress, mainly because I really do have to sit down and pay attention to what I'm doing because of all the cabling, but it's still really a really great knit, and I really do love it, and I really should get back into it. But like I said, I have to sit and pay attention. So here it is so far. It's got this lovely honeycomb pattern and this beautiful lace, cable with the baubles here. And yeah, lots of stitch markers on this one to remember where all the repeats start and finish. But yeah, and I'm using the most beautiful yarn for it. It is so soft and so lovely. I am using, let me get it out for you, Fioccolana, Arwetta, and Tilia in this beautiful shade of pink called Dusty Rose. So I am using this beautiful yarn from my local yarn store again. We've got Fioccolana in Arwetta and Tilia, and this color is Dusty Rose. And oh, I love this mohair. It's 70-30, so it's 70% kid mohair and 30% silk, and it is so soft. The extra silk content really, really makes a huge difference. Even if it is an extra couple bucks, it's way more wearable than the 20%, which I find kind of scratchy, and after a while I feel like I have to take it off, or I definitely have to wear something underneath. But this, no issue. So nice. And the Arwetta is really lovely. It's a 80-20 superwash merino wool and nylon base. And yeah, what is there to tell you about that sweater? I am knitting the size 2, which is 44 inches, which gives me about 5 inches of ease again. It's meant to be oversized. I'm sorry, I'm just looking at my notes here. It is meant to be oversized. I think Andrea recommends, I have the pattern right here, I can tell you. I believe Andrea recommends, I don't see it. Oh, 10 inches. She recommends between 6 and 12 inches of ease, and her sweater is 10 inches on her. Let's see if I can find a picture of her wearing it in all these pattern shapes, but I can show you this. There we go. So I am doing the size 2. I don't know if you can see that, which is the 44-inch bust, because I don't love oversized sweaters. I mean, this one is huge, but it's one of my old sweaters. It's an extra large, so it's too big on me, and I mainly wear it around the house because it's just so cozy. But given that that's a sweater I want to wear out, I don't want it to be huge. So no, I do not have a picture, like at least a good one, of her wearing it. But it doesn't look huge on her, but I feel like it would be really big. I mean, you can see her t-shirt underneath her collar and stuff, and she wears it more as a cozy sweater. Again, I want to wear it out because, well, you're putting in all that effort, right? You might as well. And I'm knitting it on US 5, which is 3.75 millimeters. And again, I am using my Chiaogus, my interchangeable set. The project is very dense, as in it eats a lot of yarn. So for my size alone, I require 8 balls of this yarn. So 4 because it's 50-gram balls of yarn. So it would be 8 balls for me, or 4 of the 100-gram. But yeah, you can see that just the honeycomb alone takes a lot of yarn because it's all cross stitches every row, and then the bobbles take up a lot of yarn. I'm making mine a little bit bigger, so that doesn't help. But yeah, and then you can see on the inside, and gosh, it is so soft. I cannot wait to have this done. I really should pick it back up and try to find some time. Ooh, 30 minutes of knitting every morning would get me really far. I don't know if you remember or if you know, but I do have a Patreon. And so we're going to be starting a 30 minutes of knitting club. And there's going to be weekly check-ins. I haven't even announced it to the Patreon group yet. I'm still in the planning phases of it, but I'm figuring we'll have weekly check-ins. We'll have pattern talks where everybody can ask questions, and if anybody else has knitted, then they can help out. But it'll just be like a community kind of thing, where everybody's helping each other out. And maybe we'll do like a movie night together. But I really do want to make it like a knitting club kind of sort of situation, where maybe we're all reading the same book as we're knitting, or maybe we're yeah, I guess that's really as far as I got in the thinking place. So stay tuned for that. Okay, the other project, the really big project that I've been working on, and it's almost finished, and it kind of took over my life for a while, and then I put it on hold because Sleeve Island, but that is the Storm sweater. So it's big because it's for my husband. This is the, like I said, Storm sweater, and it is from Petite Knit. I am knitting the size large in the colorway Forest Heather. And it's a Cascade 220, so it's a worsted weight yarn. And I finished the body, and it's so beautiful. It makes me think of all those old fisherman sweaters. But yeah, check it out. It's got so many details on it. So we've got this little dot pattern, and then there's this broken rib pattern here, and then there's this diamond texture, and then this like angled whatchamacallit, pearl row. I hope you can see that okay, that the sun's not bothering. And then yeah, I'm on the first sleeve here. And then I still have the other sleeve and the folded collar to do. So I am knitting this on my US 7 4.5 millimeter needles. These are Zings, and I didn't buy an interchangeable set, but I bought the pieces for the interchangeable set, if that makes sense. So I bought the tips and the cables, and I bought it all separate and stuff. But yeah, they're the Zings, and I like that they come in different colors because it makes it easier to find the needle size you need. And I absolutely adore the cables. They're not as great as the Chiaogus, but every time you buy a cable, it comes with its own stoppers and key. So it's just one less thing to buy. Whereas with the Chiaogus, you have to buy it all separate. And they're expensive. Chiaogus are so expensive. So it's $15 just for the tips, whereas these ones are only like $8, so almost half price. So worth it. So the size large is 47 inches, so it's giving him about 5 inches of ease. And yeah, I actually bought the yarn for this project back in 2019 when I was planning to knit the Kingston pullover by Andrea Mowry. I started it, I was working on the body, and then I realized that I was going to have a very hard time, and I was still kind of like beginner knitter, only working on my like second or third sweater, that I wasn't going to be able to modify the sleeves the way I want because her pattern at the time wasn't very size exclusive. It still hasn't been updated to be very size inclusive, with the biggest size only being an extra large. But at the time I was about a size 16 myself, so my arms were about 16.5 inches around right here, and the pattern only allowed up to a 14-inch circumference. So I knew I would have had to modify it, but I had just had my daughter Penny, so I was not in the headspace to do any crazy modifications or anything, so I just ripped it all out and put it away. But now it's okay because B is getting this beautiful sweater. So yeah. Okay, let's see. Oh, last thing. Last project that I'm working on that I'm going to share with you. I am lying. I have so many more projects, but I'm only going to share with you this one. This is my Fernwood cardigan by, oh my goodness, I did not look up who it's by. Let me see here. Oh, Jane Richmond of Jane Richmond Designs. Pattern's been out for quite some time, and it's a bulky knit, which is fantastic because who doesn't love a bulky knit? They go so fast. I'm sorry, I probably look like I'm making a mess right now, but honestly, I have it all twisted and I'm in the middle of a section naturally. So I finished the increases, I finished the neck shaping, and I just did the hip increase. So now I'm just knitting flat for a while to work on the body. I am using Lion Brand Wool Ease, Thick and Quick, is that what it's called? Yeah, in the colorway Marble, like I said. And again, I am using my Zings US 15 or 10 millimeter. They are huge. It's a very big chunky knit. It goes really fast, but it takes a lot on your hands because of the huge needles. But yeah, this is a fixed circular set. Let's see. It is gonna be so cozy when it's done. I am knitting the size 40. She has instructions on your size and then picking the right size and how it's gonna fit and everything. And again, I wanted it to be a little bit more fitted so I could just wear it with a tank top underneath. Yeah. The pattern is actually really interesting. She's got this, I don't want to give away too much, but the whole thing is, if you purchase the pattern, there's two patterns that you get. One is for like the sizes small to medium, and the other one is large to the bigger size, to the extra large sizes. She also uses Woolies Thick and Quick, so I'm definitely using the same yarn as in the pattern. So she has approximately 6 inches of positive ease already built into the pattern, and she provides you with this like chart where you look across the top and you find your size, and then it has all these numbers. So what happens, and I try not to give away too much, is she has this master pattern, as she calls it, and then you find the text and you input your numbers according to your size. So it's really cool because then she only has to, how do I explain this? She has this designed for it's like 19 sizes or something like that, like an insane amount of sizes, almost like a tin can knits pattern. So what happens is she has this master pattern, and then she has that chart, and then you fill in the blanks. So then she doesn't have to print extra paper and extra information, and you have to go through and highlight your size. Instead, you just plug in your numbers, and it makes it way easier, I think, in my opinion. I don't know. I kind of like it. So then, while her whole thing is like 15 pages to print off, I only had to print off 5. So yeah, fill in all your sizes, and then for the V-neck shaping and things like that in the sleeves, she's got an individual sizes section in your size, so that's all you have to print off. If you're printing and you're not using like your tablet or your phone to read the pattern. So yeah, again, this is the Fernwood by Jane Richmond. Okay, that's kind of all I wanted to share with you for knitting. I do also have a little sock going that I haven't made much progress on, but it's my first sock blank. So I wanted to share with you that. It is just beautiful. It caught my eye. I bought it at the Toronto Knitters Fair thing that happened this past summer. And this is how it's knitting up, and isn't it so cute? I love all the colors. I'm on the heel, which is probably why I've paused. But yeah, I got this from, oh my goodness, I'm totally blanking now. I had the name. Just before we started, I had the name. See, this is why you make show notes and you write things down. I'll include it down below. But yes, first time knitting with a sock blank. And it spoke to me. I loved the colors. I needed to have it. It's so much fun. Let me know if you've ever knit with the sock blank before. They are so interesting. So interesting. Anyway, moving on. Let's chat books. So I haven't done a ton of reading, but I did fly through a book, and the book that I flew through is called The Immortal Dark by Tigist Girma. And here she is on the back cover. This was her debut book. It is technically a YA, but it's funny. It's a YA that I didn't even realize was a YA, but it's also a... it didn't get the best reviews on Goodreads for being a debut novel, but I don't know. It just kind of sounded really good. It is about vampires, and it's a dark academia, and it kind of just sounded good. It says, a lost heiress, a soulless vampire, a secret drenched in blood. But yeah, that's all I needed. That's all I needed. And like, look at this beautiful edition. It is just breathtaking. I mean, oh, here. Look at that. Is it not stunning? Then it's got the back here, and there's, I don't know if there was, oh yeah, each chapter heading has one of these pictures at the top. I loved it. I thought it was really good. I flew through it. I wanted to know what the secret was. It turns out this is going to be a series, so there's going to be no, it's a trilogy. Yes, it's a trilogy. So there's going to be 2 more books, which sucks, but it didn't leave you on a terrible hanger. Like, if you don't want to read anymore, you probably don't have to, but I'm going to. I want to know what keeps happening. It just came out this past year, so it's going to be a while before the next one comes out. But yeah, let me see if I can tell you a bit more about it. It's basically, there's this girl, and she was looking for her sister who got kidnapped, and she ends up getting accepted into this academy that her family was a part of. Like, it's all kind of vampire families, but it's all part of this like history, like deep, dark past history, where these families are all different head ruling families, and they're vampires. And there's also not vampires, as in like humans control the vampires and they're within the family. I'm not making very much sense. I am so sorry. I am doing a terrible job. A vampire is assigned to the families, these head families that are ruling. The family that she's a part of, all of her family members are gone and dead, and that's part of the secret. So I can't tell you too much, but she's got one vampire who's in charge of protecting the family and that secret, and that's who she ends up working with. And I'm going to leave it there because I know I'm going to give something away, and I don't mean to do that. Okay. The other book that I'm kind of sort of reading, not really, I was reading it for a while and then we moved and it got put away, is called Middle of the Night by Riley Sager. And he wrote The Only One Left, which is, I'm pretty sure, oh yes, he also wrote The House Across the Lake. I read both of those. The Only One Left is this beautiful drama of Downton Abbey proportions, and it is just so good. I highly recommend reading that one if you haven't. And then The House Across the Lake was a mystery. I mean, they're all mysteries, but it was like a present day mystery that involved a house across the lake. And it was very much like lady watching through her window sees something happening in her neighbor's house and stuff happens. It had more of a fantastical kind of twist to it that I'm still not sure I enjoyed, but it was very well written and it was very enjoyable. This book has to do with the disappearance of a childhood friend. And now there was these 2 boys that lived, shared a fence, and they're having a sleepover in the backyard in a tent, and the boy wakes up in the morning and his best friend is gone. And he's still gone 30 years later when this man moves back into his house, into his family house, because his parents have moved away to Florida, so he's living in that house, taking care of it. And then the body turns up and they're pretty sure it's the boy. So now they're trying to figure out what might have happened and to try and solve the mystery. It's also got a little bit of a supernatural twist to it. I don't want to give away too much. I haven't gotten very far in it. I think I'm only, here we go, I'm on chapter 10. So, yeah. Yeah. I also have a whole bunch of his other books that I do really want to get through. So, yes. I've also been reading nonfiction. And by reading, I mean I'm pretty much just reading this book so far. This is called Dark Archives. It's a librarian's investigation into the science and history of books bound in human skin. It is a lot. So it's Megan Rosenblum. She's a historian and scientist, and she's looking into anthropodermic books, which is what they're called. There is a lot of, what do you call it? A lot of claims of human skin-bound books that are not true. And as a medical scientist and as, not a medical historian, I should say, and just a historian in general, she's very interested in this. And so she travels and wants to study these books to confirm, but she also looks into the history of these books, as in whose skin belongs to these books. She tries to give a name back to the person whose skin was pretty much stolen to bind these books. In the 19th century, there was actually a huge movement, I guess, of people binding and rebinding their own books. And so there's also tanneries that would take in human skin to make it leather that you could bind a book with. So she is a member of the Order of the Good Death and a co-founder of the Death Salon, a community that encourages conversation, scholarship, and art about mortality and mourning. She has crafted a narrative that is equal parts detective work, academic intrigue, history, and medical curiosity. I love it. It is really, really fascinating. I have a history background, specifically in medieval and Renaissance studies. So I never got to get into 19th century history and medicine, but I've done my own research and my own reading and things. I find especially 19th century medicine fascinating, with all of the crazy things doctors were doing, and how there was this whole cult around doctors, and how they were these like fantastical creatures that had societies and groups, and oh my goodness, it's just fascinating to me. A lot of these human skin bound books are from these scientists who would use a patient that had passed on their table, on their operating table, or someone they know, and they would, yeah, it's gross, but it's so interesting. So yeah, I have yet to finish it. It's also been on the back burner for a bit because I've been moving. The last thing I want to show you on my Kobo, I am reading Empire of Shadows. I want to see if I can pull up the cover page for you. Sorry, it's a little slow because it's a million years old. I was actually gifted this from a family member who no longer uses it, so I can't complain. So yeah, Empire Shadows by Jacqueline Benson. This is book 1 of the Raiders of Arcana, and so far so good. It's 19th century type setting. I'm just on chapter 3, so I haven't really done much reading for it, but it's got an 18th century setting, and it's very like Indiana Jones, but if Indiana Jones was a lady and it was the 19th century. There's a bit of a romance to it, and I'm so excited. I love all things Indiana Jones. Again, being a historian, I just get excited about these things. And who doesn't love a good mystery involving a lost city? Really. All right. Last thing to touch on are the movies I've been watching, because we haven't been playing our board games, we haven't been doing much reading, we've just kind of been watching TV because we're just so exhausted at the end of the day from all the unpacking, the moving, and really just kind of settling into our lives and getting kind of used to everything before we fall back into our normal routines. We've only been in this house for about 2 weeks now, so still a lot to do. Still a lot to do. But we did watch 3 movies that I wanted to share with you. If you haven't seen them already, definitely give them a watch. The first is The Burial. That's a movie with Jamie Foxx and Tommy Lee Jones on Prime. And it has to do with the oh my god, I'm so blanking. Funeral home business. That's what it is. Funeral home business. And a company, kind of like a company out of Vancouver, BC, who comes in and tries to buy. Well, like, they don't try to come in and buy. They get approached by Tommy Lee Jones' character to buy the company. And then some shady stuff happens. And it's all based on a true story that I had never heard of. It was in the papers. It was this whole big thing. They touch on a lot of the history of the South, and it was fascinating. So I definitely recommend that one if you're into more of like a documentary, in not a documentary kind of way, but true story. Yeah, it was fascinating. The other movie we watched was The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. That was fascinating too. Another true story. It's Henry Cavill and a whole bunch of other actors that are just great actors. A lot of eye candy in that movie. It has to do with World War II and Churchill and secret papers and a history that was actually covered up for a little bit until it came to light recently, and then they made a movie about it. It's fantastic. Lots of great action in that one. And eye candy. And then the last movie that we actually watched a couple nights ago was Damsel with Millie Bobby Brown over on Netflix. Fantastic. It was great. It was a good time. Again, fantasy, no romance in that one, although they kind of made it seem like it was going to be romantic. And yeah, it was great. It was fun. It was well done. It was very well done. And then now we're watching, which just came out on Monday, is the Alex Cross series over on Prime, because who doesn't love a good detective cop drama? So yeah, that's it for me. Thank you so much for tuning in, for checking out my little podcast, and I hope I'll see you again in the next one. Bye!